dude. Came back and week off, everything starts ripping.
Amazing. I think Jerome Powell had something to do with it, but I'll take credit for that.
Dude, I'm just saying, we haven't seen you and Jay Powell in the same room together.
Well, we were anticipating this cut for a very, very long time, and then we got it. It kind of seemed like the market was like expecting the 50 basis point cut and started ripping like before the cut, and then once it was announced, it was kind of like flat since. But hey, 63 and change, with the arrow pointing up. It's a good time to be paying attention, being in the space.
Dude, absolutely. Great time to be back. Definitely think it makes sense to look at some stuff. I'm excited to talk this week because I think there's a lot of stuff to look at. I still think there's also some stuff to short. And I don't think it's anything that is like a short as in it's immediately going to happen, but we still are firmly in that top range. I do think the rate cut is super bullish, but I don't think it's going to be completely smooth sailing. I know that, as mentioned in the daily recap, there's been some selling off of some Solana NFTs as well as some ETH NFTs, and people are really going gung ho back into runes and back into ordinals. So it seems like there's a good rotation. So hopefully today you and I can tackle where you should be, maybe where you shouldn't be, and just what are the plays as always. But I'm excited to get into it, dude.
Yeah, man. Like it's always like not to be being about like where the ball is, but where the ball is going to be. And I think when we spoke 2 weeks, we were like on the cusp of fractal Bitcoin, and everything was pointing towards like a season on fractal. And it's definitely doing pretty well. It's down since the launch. The launch fractal Bitcoin like shot up as high as like $35, and then we could talk about some of the things that happened on that chain, including OpCat and the speculation around that. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, L1 Bitcoin, the mother chain, has started to pump again. I mean, if you haven't been on Magic Eden recently, then you haven't seen the price action on like our favorite collections. It's really all the, call it the blue chip ordinals that are like leading the way, and you love to see it.
Dude, absolutely love to see it. Node Monkeys has been on fire this week. I know Puppets is coming off a nice pair from the weekend, but yeah, Node Monkeys is definitely the big winner here. Definitely love your sentiment about the blue chip ordinals. I think a lot of rotation is going into it, and yeah, it definitely seems like Fractals did all right. And you and I had talked about this over the past couple of weeks. It made a ton of sense from a risk reward standpoint, right? I think we always have identified that new metas that might emerge are always good risk reward opportunities. And I know I've brought up the book Trading in the Zone a few times. Finally got to finish it over this weekend. And a big thing that they talk about is having an edge that is repeatable. And they talk about if you're a casino, you don't decide which hands of blackjack you're going to play and which hands you don't. You play every hand of blackjack knowing that over time you have an edge and you're going to make money. So when it comes to stuff like fractal, runes, all of this new innovation stuff where we see new tech introduced, it makes sense to play it every time. It doesn't mean that every single time it's going to be profitable and every time that it's going to work out. But just people who've been in this crypto space long enough, we certainly have identified that as new metas, as new chains pop up, being early to those first distributions or launches on those platforms is usually a plus EV bet. So I definitely think it made sense to look at fractals. I know some projects went well. And I'm not sure. I'm curious to see your thoughts on this, Waf, but I do kind of get the sentiment that people are already kind of just moving on from it. I think the biggest thing is, like you said, the L1 is the mother chain, and I just don't know if there's that use case quite yet for all of these side chains. And this is exactly what the block runner said when we talked to them in EV, 6-7 months ago. What is really the purpose of all of these side chains until the L1 is congested and we're pumping? I'm not sure if we're there yet. So while I think, maybe the L1 pumps, we reach 100K and then we go back to Fractal, I could see that happening. I just don't know if right now is the time when Fractal is going to go off. So I'm kind of just ready to rotate back to Ordinals and just keep it like how we were doing it a couple months ago.
I mean, like similar to when we had the Bitcoin halving and we were up all day, up all night, I guess, depending on where you were in the world, trying to mint what seemed to be like the next best rune to mint. Like, Fractal had a day like that where people were inscribing ordinals, waiting for things to drop, trying to get like an early inscription number. But I think ultimately, like, the main takeaway from Fractal was the op cat that got deployed on it. So that cat 20 token, the first token was called cat. That did really well, and you needed to spin up a node to like really attack it. And until people had some like front end UI for people to go and mint, that barrier to entry, those people that broke through it did the best. And then once they spun up the UI, so for like pretty much anybody else can go ahead and mint, it kind of it minted out, and then it did really well. So I think like you minted 5 at a time, and it's currently trading over $1. So like if a mint costed you maybe a few cents, you did really well. A lot of people kind of pooled funds if they knew that somebody had a node and was capable of minting. They pooled funds and minted. I see like T Money Big Bucks in the chat. Like he was one that was able to spin up a node and mint for people and like look out for people. So shout out to T Money Big Bucks. So anyway, so that did really well because that was like new and innovative, this whole OpCat Cat 20 stuff. But besides that, it was kind of like the same user experience as like being on Bitcoin and minting something and just kind of just watching sort of like Genie data and mints and stuff. It was like literally the same exact experience with no new innovation besides OpCat. And I guess it's still yet to be determined what OpCat's going to be, if that's actually going to ever get deployed on Bitcoin layer 1. So yeah, I think it was kind of like hot. I think it's kind of cooling off now, and then it seems like Bitcoin layer 1 is starting to get hot again.
And great rundown, and yeah, definitely shout out to T Money Big Bucks for that. That's sick that he was able to help out some people mining that. And yeah, I know OpCat's had a lot of speculation just because that's tied to Taproot Wizards. I know Udi's talked about that a lot. I know that used to be a Bitcoin protocol. So it's interesting that was the coin that took off. And similar to what you said, I wonder if that's going to be the actual one that goes on the L1 eventually, or if that's just a token that exists in Fractal. I think for me, a big indicator, honestly, is just if you're looking at the Fractal price, like you mentioned, it was like $30, maybe 35 peak leading up to the actual launch of Fractal. And now the coin is down to about $13. So it's down about 50, 60%. And that is, surrounded by altcoins and crypto that are doing great over the past couple of days. So usually, we're always talking about stuff that's relative strength in a sea of weakness. And the script is kind of flipped this time around because we have a ton of strength across crypto. And then we have Fractal that's showing a lot of weakness. So at least for me, those aren't really the types of things I would gravitate towards. There might be a sort of a dip by there. I do know that Fractal is continuing to be mined. So, me personally, I'm ready to just rotate back into runes in Bitcoin because I think you got to stick where the strength is and just pivot through the market. So, I mean, you nailed it perfectly. We talked a lot about selling stuff leading up to Fractal, playing Fractal on the release, but then definitely having sort of this buffer period after the launch to see how it plays out. And it definitely seems like some of that attention is coming back to Ordinals.
Yeah, like at the moment, I'm trying to like pretty much sell my cat 20 bags. I just sent a screenshot into VC Hangout. Like if you see the price of Fractal Bitcoin here, it's at $13.39. Probably like a fair price, but like I think the sell pressure is enormous on it, because if you look at the circulating supply and what the total supply is, like, I mean, we got like nothing circulating right now. So this thing is gonna go down only as miners like dump and dump and dump and dump and dump. So I just want to get out of Fractal entirely. Like could it be bullish? Yeah, it could, but like I think like this is like your top to get out. And then it's gonna probably flatline for a really long time, and then we'll see like those sparks of it kind of coming back again. But I can see this easily going down to like $3.
Wow, I mean, you're speaking my language here because you could take a short. There's nothing saying you can't go over to CoinDex and take a nice little short on fractal Bitcoin there. And I definitely want to get to it at some point because I know it's a little tangential to the Ordinal show itself. But you have heard me over the past couple of weeks talk about shorting some stuff. AI saying shorting is haram. I don't even know what haram means, bro. But
Means forbidden.
well, there you go. You don't even know. It's really funny. I was talking to Poopaloop about this over the weekend, but there really is just like a bad sentiment about it. So I guess AI is right on the money there that crypto traders think it's haram, but stuff goes up and stuff goes down. As traders, we do develop that sense. So I'm right there with you, Af. I mean, I sold all of my FB from the claim. Shout out to you, by the way. I appreciate you letting me know. I had about 40 that I was able to claim. So a nice 1K airdrop. But yeah, I sold it all in the $30 range and didn't look back. But when you have a sense of that as a trader, if you think it's going to go down, nothing wrong with taking a little short, dude. I definitely agree with you that I think that's going to sub $10 with haste.
Yeah, I mean, like, don't forget, like, this was like 50% pre-mined. So you got like someone's out there holding 50%, whether that's like Binance or whoever, I don't really know. And then there's like 72,000 fractal Bitcoins being mined per day. And I just think that's getting dumped.
Oh, that's a no-brainer, dude. I love that. I'm gonna look into it. I apologize, AI. I don't mean to be haram, but I might have to short a little bit further. But we'll get back to that. I'll put a pin in that one. Talk to me, Wes, with all of this strength, right? Because we're celebrating here. The daily recaps are pumped up. We're positive across the board. What is catching your eye? Obviously, Node Monkeys and Puppets, I'd say, are the front runners for Ordinals. Is it time for us to dive into Node Monkeys and Puppets, or are there other collections that you think we should talk about as well?
Let's start there because those are like the big boys, right? Like Node Monkeys recaptures being priced over 10K, right? USD. It's basically 0.2 up 54% this week. And I just saw the momentum, honestly, like in alpha groups. Like it just seemed like people are on Node Monkeys. Like honestly, Bitcoin Puppets is probably next. It's ripping. I mean, that's up 40%, like to 0.115. Like this is like you want to get on the train on stuff like this before they really take off, I feel like. And I don't, like to your point about there's always time to short, and that I totally agree with. They could be a pullback, but right now, like, just feel like heading into this October, this is sort of like the front running into October, and like these Ordinals are catching a bid. And I had mentioned to you, I think, a couple of weeks ago that I felt like Ordinals will come back before Runes, and I think it's playing out that way.
Wow, you absolutely called it. And I'm pulling up the charts right now because you're definitely right. I mean, I was looking at Puppets this morning at 0.11, and I was just like, dang, the floor is pretty thin to 0.12, and right now it's already at 0.115. So even just intraday, you're able to make a quick little flip. So I do want to talk about it because JD, as always, sent us the weekly preview, which we're going to get to. But he did point out that as a success post, I think it was AI actually. And AI, feel free to hop in here, bro. I'd love to hear your voice and just your perspective. But heard that he was farming some Node Monkeys and some Puppets over the past couple days here, making some solid profit, which we love to see. But kind of want to just get back into that strategy for farming stuff when it's hot. And by farming, and AI, at any time, dude, feel free to hop in. But at least previously when we talked about it, it's looking for those desirable traits close to the floor and monitoring that floor and making sure it's thin. So right now is a perfect example. We got a really thin floor on Puppets from 0.11 up to like 0.13. Very thin, not a ton of listings. If you look at the sales today, there's a ton of sales flying in. So it's really not a bad bet from risk reward perspective to cop a nice looking one at the floor and list it incrementally just a little bit higher. And a lot of times you can get a sale taken down even before the floor rises to that level. But sometimes the floor will just pace so quickly. So it really just depends what kind of profit you're looking to make. But if you do have the stomach for some downside, and it seems like a good position right now when we're poised to go higher, it's really nice to just be able to farm those. And I definitely did that back in the day of just buying a puppet at like 0.1, goes to 0.12, sell it, wait for it to go back to 0.1, and just do that all day.
Yeah, Ross, just to jump in, that's basically what I've been doing. You've mentioned it many times on this show, and I was just following your lead on that, and I find with Node Monkeys and Puppets that their floor crashes quite dramatically and quite frequently, like every 2 to 3 weeks. And I've just been trying to buy what I can on those crashes as low as I can, and then just make sure that I'm listing into these type of sale pressure right now, and then try to repeat the process as many times as I can.
Dude, I love it. I'm glad to hear you've been doing it. What is kind of your thought process when you're going through it? It does definitely crash a lot. Is there a place in your mind where you go, this is where I'm going to buy, or do you kind of let it come to you and you're just seeing, hey, they look kind of low here, it looks good, I'm going to buy?
Yeah, I try to be as disciplined as possible with that, just because the swings can be quite dramatic. With Puppets, I was looking at like 0.08 as a range, and I hit one offer below 0.07 recently, and then it went even further than that. I felt a little bit of FOMO or about that I could have been more patient. And then I saw that the floor was recovering around 0.08, and I bought another at that range. And then I sold both last night, and I actually did FOMO back into Puppets today at 0.11. So I'm currently in profit, and I'm listed a bit higher than that. But I'm hoping that with the strength of Node Monkeys, that Puppets follows that. And with Node Monkeys, I was looking around 0.12. And I sold at like the range that I thought was good at like 0.135. And looking at the price right now, I'm feeling a little FOMO that I didn't hold that one a lot longer. But that one had some recent FUD a couple weeks ago, so my hands were quite weak with that one.
Dude, no, that's like honestly just so solid that you came in with a plan and that you were looking for that profit. And like, it's crazy. The thing with ordinals that I love is that it seems so small. So I feel like it is easy to make those sales of like just 0.01 profit. That's $650, right? And like, it's so easy to make $1,000 in ordinals, and it's the same thing as like half an ETH or 0.3 ETH, which used to be a huge win. So even just that small sale, like that's awesome. And you definitely can't get hard on yourself, right? Because even after the FOMC and Powell cutting rates, the market kind of like stuttered for a little bit, right? It went up, it went down. So you really didn't know. And even right now, when the market's guiding higher, like we're still seeing Bitcoin kind of test that 64,000, break through it a little bit, come back. Like it's still testing the water. So there's not a guarantee. And I definitely would say like a big thing with the FOMO here is once you've sold out, I totally respect the call to get back in on Puppets, and like the floor is thin. You got the Node Monkey Catalyst. That always makes sense. But I've done this plenty of times as a mistake. So just like learning from things that I've done, there's been tons of times where I've sold it and then I'm like, shit, I need to FOMO, and I buy higher than I sold. And that as a trader is just like not a good behavior, right? Like even if the market does go higher and you're like, shit, I should have got in, the entry wasn't there. So I have so much respect for your system that you're doing, dude. Just keep it up, like if it pulls back from 0.3 back to 0.2, rather buy it on a pullback than chasing up movement. So, kudos to you. Just keep staying still, bro. We got this.
Yeah, awesome. Appreciate the advice, and thank you.
Yeah, dude, man, that's great discipline, bro. I mean, it's hard to stick to a disciplined approach, and I would say like that was very disciplined.
Yeah,
thanks. Now we just need Quantum Cats to catch a bid. Need to get rid of that.
Dude, it's coming, bro. I think it is, honestly. Like we've talked about Quantum Cats so many times. I think people might be focusing on Node Monkeys and Puppets a little bit more just because they have that like immediate status of just. I mean, Node Monkeys are kind of the first and it's catching a bid, but there's still so much demand for Taproot Wizards. I really would be surprised if Quantum Cats don't rip up closer to the 0.3 range in coming days here. NFA, I should say.
I just want to go back. Like my timeline is like kind of percolating with like a lot of people getting bullish. So I just put a few examples out there, but like kind of mixed in between. There's this video on Liquidium that one user put together that I think is like an awesome little 2-minute kind of like tutorial on like what Liquidium is about and like the benefits of it. So like right now, like if you want to use like Puppets as an example, you could go out there and lend on a Puppet for like 0.08, which is like 71% LTV, and you get like 90% APY on that over 16 days. And let's just say like that person defaults on it. Now you're getting a puppet for 0.08. So I just think it's a great way to capture some of these ordinals at like below floor prices. And if not, they pay you back and you earn the interest, right? So I think it's just like if you have some liquidity, it's a really great thing to do. They just had season 1 airdrop yesterday. They distributed like I think like another 1 or 2% of their total supply. So like you're still farming this liquidium rune, which I think has value because like this is like one of the actual real utilities that's out there right now on L1. So I wouldn't dismiss like um, using liquidium, whether it's to borrow or lend or just even if you're just like wash trading with yourself or something, just to kind of accumulate points for the next liquidium airdrop.
That's a great call out, Waf. And how's it been going for you? Because I know you've been doing Liquidium even before this pump. You had some really good lens going on. I think on puppets and Natcats were kind of your bread and butter there. Maybe some Node Monkeys too. Did you get hit on any? Did you get some good prices before this rip?
Yeah, man, I caught like pretty much like 5 or 6 puppets at like the 0.09 range, and then I caught a Node Monkey at like 0.12. And then I was and then I'm underwater on a OMB at like 0.19, but I mean it's like barely underwater. And then also I think OMBs are gonna rip because Purple Eyes OMBs are like expected to come out in November, so like they're gonna run up like crazy before that event. Like I'm sure like Orange Eyes gets you 1 mint, and then Green Eyes will probably get you a couple more, and then if you have blue or red, you get like a ton, right? Because you know how like that system and that formula seems to be the same, every mint. So I just think like to have like an Orange Eyes, you probably get like an entry level like access to mint these Purple Eyes, and they're gonna just run beforehand. So you probably got like probably less than a month probably to like get in on OMB if you want to play this Purple Eyes before the floor price kind of goes too high.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. And I mean, I think AI said it really well where he was talking about he saw that Node Monkeys are running and that sort of gave him the intuition to get back into puppets. Like you can just do that with so many other collections that we're having now. So what you're saying is they're going to have this big event and minting it. Like you just see, even though they're coming back, 20, 30% over the weekend, the prices are down so much from their peaks that just all of these blue chips, I'm eyeing them up and down. And I'm just like, damn, there are some really solid entries here. And once these floors thin out a little bit, it's definitely go time. So I'm a little upset that I didn't get in sooner on puppets because I was monitoring it, saw there was a thin floor since like 0.09. And the sales are just picking back up. And I think once you just see the sales continue to pick up on one, it really just trickles down through the space. So, first it's going to be puppets. Maybe those go back up to like 0.15, but then you'll see quantum cats will go up and then OMBs. Like everything just kind of trickles and runs together. And it really does seem like Bitcoin now is just back at 64K. If it can set a new all-time high, I would really be surprised if we don't see a return to native assets. I think it could be the hop we've been waiting for.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I just love Liquidium. I don't want to like beat a horse to death, but I think it's a good way to potentially get some good prices, or if not, just make some interest, earn some interest. I had some other collections also like on my radar that's kind of gone up, but at different price points because at the end of the day, Node Monkeys is 0.2. A puppet is 0.115, so that they're not like exactly cheap, even though they're still way off their all-time highs. But I'd be remiss if I don't bring up Bitcoin Frogs. I mean, at 0.049, I mean they went down as low as 0.03. They just look like really primed to make a run. So I do like Bitcoin Frogs at 0.049. And then Natcats, I do love Natcats, obviously. 0.019. The floor is looking pretty thin. I want to say listings are pretty down. We got huge event coming tomorrow. We'll get into that in a minute. But I do like Natcats at the 0.019 range. And then similar to what's coming, bitmaps. I mean, I don't know if you've been paying attention to bitmaps, but bitmaps have been up significantly over the last couple weeks. It's kind of fallen back. I think they got as high up as 0.001. They've now are down to like 0.0075. I don't really know how thick or thin the floor is, but there's just so much things coming to bitmaps. I think bitmaps, at like, that's like a what, like 70, $80 or something, if I'm doing my math right. I think that's a steal for bitmaps. So I do like them. And then there's one that I know is one of your favorites is Sense. Sense is hanging around like 0.0005, also kind of making a big move up. So I got my eyes on like collections at different price points, and I think like they all should do well over the next couple of weeks.
Dude, I love it. When you said that collection you like, I was like, please be Sense, please be Sense. It worked out. Dude, absolutely. I mean, everything you got to just look at here is all through the lens of risk reward. How much am I risking? So the smaller cap stuff, or just the smaller floor price stuff, I think it's really solid risk reward because you don't have to risk as much. Do I think it's going to move as fast as a collection like Node Monkeys or Puppets? No. But can you make oversized gains on them? Absolutely, right? It's like something like Sense, I could really see that taking off. And that's just the nature of crypto, is that it's so driven that by FOMO that if you identify these collections early, all it takes is a few buys for it to become top 10 collection. Then people are seeing it, and then off like a 0.005 buy, you might end up making 0.01 or 0.02. And again, this is not financial advice, and I would really just recommend you monitoring these. But this is the call to action to say, hey, go hop on Magic Eden, familiarize yourself with the floor, go look at how many cents are there, look at how many sales need to happen for that fin to go, or that floor to go up another rung. And then if that floor goes up another rung, are you going to hop in, right? Is the floor thinning out? Are there 50 sales needed to get to that next price point, and now there's 40? Great. That is like a good time to buy. So right now, for anyone listening, this is your signal, the bat signals out there, the WAF signals there. Start checking the markets. Like, stuff's going down.
Yeah, and like if you notice, like right now we got in VC Hangout, we got 11 people. Like, when we were, I guess, like really high going, flying, we were at like 30 people in the chat maybe. So like this is people not paying attention. This is the time to pay attention, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And want to loop AI back in here if you're still there, AI, just because I love having guests on the show. When you were looking at Puppets, were you looking for specific traits, or are you just buying the lowest floor that you can see? Would love to get your take on it.
Just the floor. Like I had offers set up where I wanted to get hit, and then whatever I got. And the one right after my most recent offer buy was like an actual sweet one, like a good trade, like one of those, like I think it was like Rainbow Puke, which would have been nice. I haven't hit like a real sweet trade though. Like there was a hoodie that got dumped recently, like 2 weeks ago, and like if I was watching, that would have been really awesome. But it was like dumped at floor.
Oh, damn. Wow. Someone wanted out, but appreciate that, dude. Yeah, definitely nice that Magic Eden has the bid feature. Slightly different than how it works. Actually, it's the pretty similar functionality to Blur. I think it's just a little different how it stacks or how it's like visualized. But yeah, that's nice if you just have a price point in mind. You can just do it in your sleep, right? Set a bid and hopefully someone sells into it.
Yeah, exactly. And just wait for it to come to you, because I don't know, with Puppets and Node Monkeys specifically, it works till it doesn't, but so far it does crash and it does bounce back.
Yeah, I really. What? Oh, you
okay. The one thing I wish Magic Eden did was allow you to have like a collection offer on more than one as the quantity, because like I think right now when you want to do a collection offer, you only could do a collection offer at like one price, and you can't do like multiple quantities. So that's kind of like a pain in the ass. But you could actually put offers on like on individual ordinals within the collection, as many as you want. But when it comes to just sort of like the collection offer, you only could do one.
Yeah, that's such a bummer, and you can't ladder down. And so like if you do get hit, you got to make sure you get your bid back up.
Or multiple wallets. But no, that is definitely a bummer. It'd be nice to be able to do that. But I just really like that, and I'm definitely seeing more and more with ordinals. Like, it really is just about being patient, because, like we said, right, 0.01 is $650, so you really don't need a big move for it to work. And I'm sure AI can vouch for it. I know WAF and I can vouch for it. Like puppets alone can move 0.02 intraday, like every day of the week. Like it just happens very frequently. That collection goes up and down because there's just all of these sell catalysts. And I'd say that's like one of the benefits of crypto in this cycle. I always talk about it in a negative context of like, oh, the market spread thin, so the upside is capped. But from a positive side, hey, the attention economy just moves so quickly that people are going to be taking profits on puppets for now. I think the major sort of sentiment shift that might happen where we do see that breakout range is people saying, oh my gosh, it's always been Bitcoin. Why did I leave ordinals? And then people are piling into ordinals, causing FOMO. And we saw that like 6 to 8 months ago, right? That was when puppets were like 0.4 up only, node monkeys almost 1 Bitcoin up only. So that kind of sentiment really leads to just like crazy pumps. And those are the kinds of things that you want to ride. But when we're in sort of this like half and half, right? Because you see a lot of people bull posting, but then they'll be very quick to bear post. Like we're in a very split range. That's almost advantageous if you're willing to just set your marks of here's where I buy, here's where I sell. Because until the market really does take a directional stance, you can just, ride that all day and just multiply the Bitcoin. Why not?
Oh, completely agree. I want to say I think these bitmaps is like a really good asymmetric bet, and I want to segue into block drops, which is due to be activated tomorrow. So if you own a Natcat, you can go on to like mscribe and inscribe your block drop that's connected to your Natcat, but that's also like improving like the overall like metaverse protocol on bitmaps. So like on bitmaps, like you're gonna be able to like do like different things within that metaverse. And I'm gonna just drop this link here on something that's minting right now that's kind of under the radar. They have like these DMT bit miners. So this thing pretty much will mine, like, do you remember the DMT NAT token? Like, so this will mine like NAT tokens, and it'll like mine like any like metaverse token that someone deploys, and like you'll have a miner to like extract that from like a bitmap or whatever the case may be. So this is like just like an advanced development in the metaverse. I know like metaverse is like really not spoken about too much, but I think it's actually something really, really cool. So I went ahead and minted this. This is minting right now. I think it just came out today. But again, you don't see this kind of being shilled on the timeline because DMT is, I guess, not as well understood as other things, but it's something to really look into. And I think it'll drive the price up for bitmaps and pretty much like Natcats as a result of like this new like innovation.
Ooh, wow. Guys, go throw WAF a blessed, please. If you haven't used your blessed for the week, and I know it's only Monday, so that might be a little unfair, but throw WAF a blessed. He's literally in here week after week. And if it's not WAF, then please throw it to JD, because they're just here literally week in, week out, getting some alpha on some projects. That is a hot drop, though. And I love the shift, WAF, because, you talking about bitmaps and DMT, there really is this group of people who are building Bitcoin and advancing the technology. It is a shame that we are just so focused on like the here and now and where the money is always at, because once the market catches up to Bitcoin and you have more and more people who are trading ordinals, it would be crazy if they didn't go towards that next, because that is like the true natural progression, right? And it's not to throw shade on fractals or anything else like that, because the market's the market. It's going to do what it wants to do. But they're building on side chains that aren't even on Bitcoin. And here with DMT, they're really advancing the capabilities of what you can do within the native Bitcoin ecosystem. So, I think it's a matter of time. Again, we talk about stuff trickling down. I don't really see DMT running until the other ordinals do, but we're starting to see that happen. So I do think that once ordinals continue to catch up, if we do get that big bounce and we break through from the consolidation and start going up, you really are hitting it on the head that there is an oversized bet on DMT at some point in the future.
You know what I say? Like, ironically, like fractal Bitcoin kind of like is gonna lead to the attention that DMT gets, because it's showing sort of like this polar opposite take, like this L2 side chain, like really not even anything Bitcoin related, right? But they just put Bitcoin in its name, And then people are going to realize, like, this is not layer one. This is not Bitcoin. Like, you deploy Opcat there. Like, so what? Like, so it's just, in a way, like, it getting hot and getting attention is going to, like, really show, like, the differences in both, and, like, how stark it is, like, between what DMT is and what, like, Fractal is, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, as always, we'll monitor the market and see. I just want to reiterate right now that this is NFA because obviously the market's getting hotter. And I know we're going to start getting those FOMO senses kicking in. But definitely, just do some research before leaping in, folks. See it for yourself. Go see what the market sentiment is like. But, I know WAF is there every day trading Fractal. I haven't traded as much, but definitely just from what I've seen, the collections that are out on Fractal, there's really not that much new there. It's like fractal puppets, fractal node monkeys. Okay, sick. You're just making a derivative of existing collections. There's not really too much there that caught my eye in terms of like, this is where I want to be.
Yeah, I want to say too, like, there's people making like gains. Like, there's like a BRC20 out there called Glizzy that's done like really well. So there are like 100x plays out on Fractal. I don't want to say there isn't, but it's just sort of like hard to scale your bets on there because you're talking Fractal Bitcoin. It's like what, $13. You might mint something for like 0.03, Fractal or something like that. And yeah, you can make 100x, but you might not get like that many mints in, and so you might 100x, but your 100x is like, I don't know, $5 to 500. You know what I mean? So it's not like something that's really scalable, in my opinion. In terms of size, if you're trying to play with size, you can't really play with size there. That's what I'm saying.
I completely agree. And I mean, I think you need to look at like the micro meta and the macro meta. And the macro meta is just sort of the chain that things are trading on, right? Like we saw with Tron 2 weeks ago that was the place to be at. So you had, just by trading on Tron, you're already in the meta of Tron. But then from within there, you have the micro meta of, okay, what are the kinds of coins that are taking off? There are all these coins related to Justin Sun. And then great, those are all doing awesome. So, if you're talking about Fractal, you're already in a macro that's not really there, right? Like we just discussed, the price on Fractal's down a lot now, and you have collections like Node Monkeys and Puppets that are doing great. The macro to me is saying, hey, that's where I want to be trading. And then within that, I don't really know what the micro is, at least on Fractal. I don't know if there's any sense of it, if that just happened to be a one-off token. So you kind of want to look for those two things to align, and that's going to give you a better bet. Because I think it's akin to like when Solana was the place to trade, and then we had Arbitrum and Base. Like, if you're just spread thin everywhere, it's going to be really hard for you to pinpoint what an actual good token looks like. So I'd really just try to focus on the environments that are the macro for trading, and then hone in there on sort of what is that micro meta that's trending up.
Yeah, I just dropped the link to like the fractal ordinals that are like predominantly traded on OKX if you want to take a look. But you could see like right now it's not really indexed or anything. It's just sort of like all over the place. People buying low inscriptions. I want to say like the fractal goose was something that people were like kind of rushing out to like mint and like trying to get within like the first 10,000 and be part of the collection. But then it turns out it's open mint, so you can like mint as many as you want. So like it was like this whole rush to like mint it, and it turned out it was kind of like a big nothing. And if if you're gonna spend your time chasing, you're never gonna be like where the ball is gonna be, right? You're chasing the ball. So like we wanna catch stuff before everyone comes to it. So I think like I'm just gonna like get back onto. Well, I never left that one, but like I just think like DMT could be the next one, and no one's really talking about it. So as this attention from Fractal moves away and comes back to like puppets and no monkeys and ordinals, I think like secondarily you're gonna see like that attention also come back to like bitmaps and natcats and all the DMT stuff. So I think I want to be positioned well in advance before people start coming back to it.
I love it, dude. Lap, 100%. You've always done such a good job of just positioning yourself where the ball has been or like is going to go. And by just where it's been, you're like, hey, I know that people like ordinals. It's been here before. The ball's way across the field now, but it could definitely come back. And, we talked about these collections. The first time you called out Bitcoin frogs, it was down to like what 0.02, and you called it out and ripped back up to 0.07. So for sure, just seeing that here are some collections that were red hot, they cooled off, but now they're heating up again. Absolutely, great place to look is those collections that were once hot, still have good reputations, but just haven't caught quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about like what's also catching fire. Like you think about like we always talk about when puppets move up, like Pups World Peace kind of moves along with it, right? So Pups World Peace is up like a good 26% this week. But the real winner in runes this week is our favorite $1 billion cat. Like $1 billion cat has actually been crushing it, and like its move this week is like legendary. Like it's up 148% this week. Like it just kind of came back from the dead. And I think it's back to being like the number one meme again. And like I think even now at 36 sats, it's still, it got up to like what, 120 sats? That's still like a 4x left to go on this thing just to get back to all-time high. And if we're really hitting October and things are gonna pop off, like this is still 4x off its all-time high.
Dude, it really is crazy just how far that we've come, and that's kind of the fun part of this territory where things have melted down so much. Is like it really just takes a quick spark for things to fly, and that's where you can get those really crazy returns. And again, I just want to re-emphasize that this is NFA because everything should be done according to your budget. Don't go all in on something that you can't afford to lose. As always, projects go up, projects go down, but yeah, it's a really good chance on some of these rune projects because they are just wrecked. And when we're talking about, hey, DMT might be the thing to catch when ordinals pops back up, runes as a whole, great place to look for things that might run, right? If ordinals come back in full force and we see all-time highs, it is a no-brainer that runes are going to follow. You pick any rune on that chart right now, just look at its peak, right? Dog go to the moon, almost $1 billion market cap. Previously, now it's at 250 mil, 4x to go. So many of these collections are 4 to 10x off their all-time high. So the stuff that's still around, just find the things that resonate with you and you think have strong communities around them, and they really do have an opportunity to do extremely well if the market cooperates.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like I said, like on my timeline, like I see Leonidas is like bull posting again. You just feel like the energy that it's coming back. So I would definitely pay attention. And a lot of times we round trip our bags, right? Like, and I'm also guilty of that. But you know what? There's another flight coming, and it's make sure you board this flight, because we're about to go, back to the moon. This time, let's just exit when we get there. That's all.
Absolutely. I am going to talk about a timeless shill from my book. I am a big bag holder of this one, but I like the play. Wizard is still kicking, and props honestly to Maven's bot because he kind of just left the community high and dry, but it wasn't in like a, hey, I'm gonna do this, and then he didn't do it. It was just sort of like, I will do this at some point, and he is just waiting, I guess, for what I'm not really sure. But the fact that when the market died down and everything just kind of went to the bare woodshed, it was bad, right? The community was in shambles. Oh man, Maven rugged us. He didn't do anything, didn't deliver. But now that the market's coming back, maybe Maven was just waiting for the right point in time. So all of this rambling is just for me to say, if you look at the other rune collections, not Doggo to the Moon, and not our SIC, RSIC, because those were airdropped to holders, so they have like 20,000 plus holders. But all of the other runes on the Magic Eden top rune charts, most of them really only have like 1,000 to 2,000 holders. $1 billion cat, I think, has closer to 8,000 or 9,000 holders. But amongst all this, Wizard has like 7,200 holders, which is really solid distribution. And talking about memes, I do think that Magic Internet Money is still just such a significant meme, not just to Bitcoin, but in the grand scheme of crypto. So just as things have been heating up, that Wizard token, the BRC20, sure enough, has been going up as well. I do think it's one of those things in the same theme of what AI said, that the price is going to go up and then dumps. Like, it's going to go up and then dump and keep doing that. But it really is, I think, an oversized risk-reward opportunity. If you look at its historical significance with that name, if you look at the holders, if you look at where runes were and where they could go, it's an NFA, but definitely look into it. I think it's a really solid one to monitor as things continue to heat up.
You know what I like about Maven's bot not like creating the rune yet is like we just have like this like ace up our sleeve where like this another potential catalyst for like the rune market to go up because he didn't just willy-nilly issue it, and we've been down only. It probably would not have done well if he had created it and just deployed it and minted it during these last 6 months. So now potentially it could be like a really big bullish trigger when the time comes. So it's in a way it's kind of nice to have just sort of like another ace in your sleeve and get ready to play it when the time comes.
Dude, I totally agree. I mean, I am down like 50% on the position, and there's been so many times where I'm like, dude, I just need to dump it. But every time I'm just like, no, I need to hold it. And I mean, you've heard me just, talk for minutes on end here, just being like, if you zoom out enough on ordinals, you'll see, like, genuinely, I think that this is just one of my true forever holds. I'm not going to let myself take the L. I'll ride it to zero if that's the L that I'm going to take. But I'm just like, have such conviction in that thesis paying off at some point that I think whenever Maven's bot does come back and it's just like, hey, we're actually doing it, I don't know how that doesn't go gangbusters if he does it during the bull market. It's gonna be the spotlight.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be like total euphoria once he does deploy it, especially with how long people have been waiting. It's gonna be so bullish. It's not even funny.
Dude, totally agree. And speaking of complete euphoria, G6, I just love staring at your Bitcoin puppet right now, bro. Props to you for holding that for a long time, but I'm just geared up, dude. We're back. We got BossDawgs in full force. It's a beautiful puppet you got there, and just happy for you to be joining us once again for BossDawgs. You can tell, dude. I got some pep in my step today, Wap. I'm just amped up to be back.
Same here, man. I'm feeling good, man. Like I went on that Friday chat we had for the NFL take, which was love talking NFL. But you know what? My next favorite topic is Bitcoin and Ordinals.
Dude, so true. Is Jawan Jennings the truth? We gotta know.
I don't know. I had him in one lineup, and I wish I had him in more. But where's Brandon Ayuk, man? What the hell?
I know, bro. I've been hurt by some Ayuk bags this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, still always good, and I know Relic's not here, man. But shout out to Mr. Relic. I mean, just literally the goat of DFS, and it's not even close.
Dude, it's crazy. For those of you guys who didn't see, he got like 100K takedown off a lineup this weekend. So that's insane. I saw he was putting together some stuff with Saber Sim. That's always gone way over my head. But I mean, props to him, dude. He's on a heater like we haven't seen.
Yeah, you should buy some puppets, right?
Yes, Relic is single-handedly going to revive our bags. That is financial advice.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna tell him that in a DM, see what he says.
Let's switch over real quick. Let's switch gears and do some upcoming releases. And once again, just want to say, throw JD some blesses, please. I sing his praises all the time, but it's super well warranted because he just goes and compiles information on projects that come out. So JD, just appreciate you so much, bro. But let's share this in the chat, share some projects that JD shared with us this morning, and then we can run down and see how we're feeling about them.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let me pull these up here. In the meantime, Ralph, while I'm pulling these up, anything else top of mind, non-collection wise, just macro perspective catching your eye?
I'm just looking ahead. I noticed we're expecting like a ton of rate cuts. There's like those mixed indicators out there: recession, not recession. I'm personally of the belief that there won't be a recession at all, and we're just gonna have like a melt up going into next year. I just think, the time has come. The liquidity is back. The banana zone is literally here. We're in the banana zone. It's happening, and that's it. It's gonna happen.
Dude, I gotta bring a vat of chocolate for a dip banana there. But yeah, no, I love the take, Waf. I think I agree similarly. I do think at some point we're going to have the end part of a melt up, which is usually a meltdown. But as long as we've been dealing with sort of this post-COVID inflationary things, I think the consensus has always been a blow off top. And if you just look at some of the crashes that we've had in history, I don't really want to try to call a crash because like you can just never get the timing right. They say like, oh man, people have correctly guessed 32 of the last 3 crashes because everyone's like, this is it right here. But I do think just looking at charts, things usually do send up before they just crash, especially with this being an election year. So totally there with you. I think this could be the parabolic up. I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know, if it lasts, but I do think that we'll probably get some more up before a down move there. So definitely with you.
Yeah, like I like to reference Raul Paul, and his charts all indicate that liquidity's back, and like that's it. The banana zone is here, and I tend to agree. The rate cuts just adds liquidity to the economy and the markets. As far as like calling crashes, I mean I feel like that's like cloud chasing, I should say, where like you want to be like the one who called it, but you know what, like no one ever calls it, and if you called one, you're not calling a second one, and that's only like a temporary event anyway, and then things kind of just V shape back or level back up, U shape back recovery. So you can't really play for that, honestly. You just got to play for like I think more knowns than that, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you there, Waf. I mean, the market can do anything at any point. So to bank on a crash at one point in time, props to people who do it successfully. I mean, you have to have balls to hold puts, man. I've tried it before. It is like puts are really hard to trade. So props to the people who do it. But if you guys who are listening, take a look over at Voice Hangout Chat. Once again, this is a list shared via JD. He sends WAF and I these top of the morning here for the show. So again, just appreciate the effort there. But starting off with the list, we got Inscriptpedia, which I believe is planning to put books on the blockchain. This is a narrative we've had kind of a long time coming, WAF. What are your thoughts on like this, books being on the blockchain narrative?
I think it's bullish, and I don't know if you know, but like this mint was supposed to happen last Monday, I believe. It got heavily botted. It was getting botted to death, and then we had to notify Jern like that it's getting botted. So they stopped the mint. He had to kind of like take a step back and reassess what he was gonna do. So now like they're now ready to do this mint again. I forgot how many were actually minted by the botters, but the fact that the botters were on it immediately, like, kind of tells you all you need to know that this thing is going to be pretty bullish.
Yeah, well said. And it's actually an MVHQ mission right there, so that is double bullish. But it's going to be interesting to see. I think if this one does well, it could really launch a new meta. I could really see like a lot of use cases for it, particularly in anime and manga, honestly. I think there's a really large Venn diagram of people who are into NFTs and Web3, who are into anime and manga. Azuki.1. So it could be cool just to see people start releasing media through the blockchain, just kind of doing fair launch, everything's on chain, immortalized there. I think just the concept of sort of like having something that lives forever, shout out to EV from Naps, right? We talked to him a lot about that kind of concept of art living. So this idea of just books that are always going to be on chain, and if you just look at the history of our society and its relationship with books and just how books can get banned and taken away and burned and all that stuff, it's cool to say, hey, you can have a book on chain. So we'll see how it does. I do think that different types of media that aren't just the standard JPEG aren't always like super commercially successful, but it is a cool innovation nonetheless. So looking forward to that one.
I do think it's pretty awesome, and the fact that it's like an open protocol that anyone can kind of deploy their own books, I think is really cool. It's a really cool concept. To your point, anime, manga, like that's just like taking it to a whole another level, not just reading text, which I think is probably good enough too. But the fact that you could have like literally a whole art book on it is pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other thoughts on Inscriptpedia or just books on chain in general before we keep it cruising here?
No, I think that's it. I think out of all of these, that's definitely the one I'm the most bullish on.
More than block drops?
Oh, the block drops. Well, the block drops, you don't even have to like go and inscribe it right away. You could like literally sit on it and let it like accumulate with your Natcat. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, I know. I'm just pulling your leg a little, dude, because I know you and I are both amped up for block drops, and it's just great to see another installment for EV. So I'm stoked on that.
Honestly, it is pretty awesome that like not only is it the first block drop, but it's also EV.
Yeah, he's genuinely cool. I mean, not to like glaze or anything like that, but you just talk to a lot of different people through hosting, and like he just has a very cool persona. I think he's very humble and down to earth about it. Like you just talk to a lot of founders, and their goal is like, let me just pump my bags, and they're just not even listening to the questions you're chatting about. They're just like fully on an agenda to come out and shill their shit. And he's just like, he'll tell us whatever. He's just there to chat. So shout out to him. It's cool to see a project from him. Excited about it.
Cool. What any of these projects that you're also excited for, or like just what do you think?
I did think the art on some of these was pretty cool that were shared. I think these geo ordinals are kind of cool. I do think, with these, the concern has always been the low collection sizes. So these kinds of collections, I think, will do really well in a couple of weeks to maybe a month or so, depending on how Bitcoin shapes up. And again, I think it's all about the trickle down effect. If Bitcoin reaches an all time high next week, collections are going to do great because people are just going to be racing for mints. So none of these really catch my eye right here in this now moment, but I would still keep all of these on the radar and continue to monitor the stuff that's being dropped, because once that threshold is reached, once Bitcoin reaches all-time high, once ordinals catch up, there is going to just be a race to mint everything and anything under the sun. So yeah, besides Inscriptpedia, there's really not a whole lot here that speaks to me, just because the collection sizes are small and historically those don't stand up super well. But it's still a great time to be looking at the market. So I would just keep an eye on all of them, and you never know what's going to hit.
Yeah, I agree. I want to say probably the most hype release was this Taproot Witches that came out a few days ago. They seem to have like over allocated their witch list, which was supposed to be like a guaranteed list. So there's been some FUD around it, but this thing was like a 10x out of the gate. It's now sitting at like a 5x. I think reveal is coming up in maybe like 24 blocks or so. So if you want to play like the reveal roulette, you could grab one of these. The community seems to be pretty bullish on it, but again, the FUD kind of knocked down this price by like 50%.
Yikes. Yeah. I mean, honestly, all FUD, good FUD kind of narrative, I feel like, especially if it's something where they oversubscribed a whitelist. Like, that does suck for people who bought guaranteed whitelists. I'm not advocating for that or saying that that's cool whatsoever. But in terms of just like things that could cause the price to temporarily fall down, it seems like more people wanted it than could have it. So that definitely is a bullish catalyst. And great shout once again, Laugh. You're just always full of awesome shout outs. If these are revealing and they are the hype drop right now, would completely just spend some time looking through that whole collection, see if you can find the one of ones. I know that we had Frux come out a couple of months ago before things cooled off for a while, and there was a few hidden one of ones in that collection, a few rare traits that if you identified those early on, it was like a 10x even after mint. It was just after the reveal. So yeah, go through Taproot Witches, see if there's like one of one traits that look cool, that look different. If there's a witch that's just like clearly different and it's listed at the floor, just snap that shit up, set your sats high, and hope for the best.
I mean, I think this has been out for like maybe 3-4 days now, and I haven't looked at this in a while, but there's 53 pendings on this thing right now. So I think there is something here to play. Whether it's sniping the revealed ones that are rares, or maybe yeah, that's probably the best play right now. Or maybe you can play like this price going up, leading up before the reveal, and then sell before the reveal. You probably could do that too, because again, these made it up to like 0.012, so about a 2x from here. So maybe if they run up to like 0.008 or 9, you can make some money on a quick flip before the reveal.
Absolutely, a great call out there as well.
You got any other like last thoughts or anything on like what's happening? Like how do you want to close today's show, Ross?
Laugh. You're setting me up to go back into my short corner. So I'm gonna get on it quickly because it's still Short King summer, even though now it's fall. But we got to get on our short king shit real quick, because while I do think the market is poised to go higher, and people get scared when I say the word short, I am not bearish on crypto. Let me just say that first and foremost out the gate. I am bearish on projects that are ripping for no reason. And if you read my write-up the other day, I talked about Grass Token. That one's still trending upward. But even since then, because the market has rebounded, I think there's amazing short opportunities for some of these companies that are just dead and gone. But that is the nature of crypto, right? Is that when altcoins rip, the entire space rips. So for me, I just see a ripe tree full of the juiciest shorts imaginable. And I wanted to just share some of them today because I've actually had a couple good ones hit over the weekend. The number one short that I was looking at was Parcel. If you remember Parcel, people were farming that back in Solana farm meta. And that's the thing about the Solana farming meta, is that it is like completely dead, right? I think that came and went with the death of Blast there. I know Blast is coming back a little bit, but just all of those Solana projects that people were farming so heavily, they were so far down. And Parcel was up 100% over the weekend on just a huge gap up with little to no volume. So I shorted that one over the weekend, already at 30% there. So I took off half my position. But just as a shout, go on to Avo and just look at coins that are going up over the next couple of weeks, because there are going to be coins where you're like, I totally forgot this thing even existed. Why would anyone buy this? But they're buying it right now. So, I'm not saying, hey, put all your money in it because it's going to go down. I do think crypto is going to go higher for a little bit here. But I think scaling into some of these coins that are just vaporware, serve no purpose, people aren't using them anymore, these are just such juicy entries that this is where I want to start building that exposure. So sort of the opposite of what we've done, right? Like we did this with ordinals when they were dead in ruins. We started accumulating the bags and then they're going up. Now that the bags are up, I would just target some of this dog shit to ride on the way down. NFA, apologize for being haram there, but I got to put it out there because that's what's been top of mind for me as of late.
Dude, I love the ideas, and like what you said earlier today about like shorting fractal Bitcoin. I love that one.
Yeah, I might have to do it. I wish it was on Avo because I just love their UI so much. But I might have to get my deposit back into CoinDex. I sold my fractal there and just got out, but I know that they do shorts on that. So maybe I'll send some Bitcoin over there and hop into a position later today. I'll shoot you a DM if I get into it.
All right, sounds good. So so price predictions for next week? What do you got?
Ooh, all right. Let's get a timestamp here. I'm gonna pull up the old Robinhood spot price. We're at $63,338. Dude, I'm gonna say 65,800 for next week.
I like that. I'm gonna go 67.
Dude, I love that, dude. If we get 67, we're gonna see some craziness from ordinals and runes. That I know for sure.
Yeah, they'll be smoking hot, right? We might be like at 0.3 node monkeys or something by then.
Yeah, I'm smiling while saying it, but like I genuinely think we're gonna see it soon. It just feels like the pressure that you're seeing, right? You're seeing like 10 plus Bitcoin in daily volume on some of these collections. That is pretty damn bullish. And I think the other thing is just how it aligns with the US macro. I'm not sure how long it lasts because, like, again, I talked about how markets usually go up before they send down a lot. And I saw some threads on Twitter about how rate cuts are temporarily super bullish and then they cool off. But for the time being, it just happened within the past week. There's more rate cuts to come. If you're cutting rates, it's cheaper to borrow money. So we should see the US stock market going up a lot. I think that in tandem with crypto going up a lot, it really starts putting a lot of FOMO and euphoria in the air when you get those types of conditions. So I'm so with you, App. I think the stars can just align here and we can really go bananas, as you said.
Yeah, man. I think this is literally time. People always forget that feeling, how it feels to be in the bull, right? So they don't believe it. It's like that disbelief stage in the market cycle psychology, right? And I think we're kind of coming out of disbelief right now, and then people are gonna start realizing this rally is the real one.
Yeah, completely agree. We'd love to see it. NFA as always, folks, but definitely get excited, and we'll see you next week to see how the predictions did and just chop up all things ordinals.
Peace out, Ross.
Peace out, Ralph. Always a pleasure. And make sure you guys tune in on Thursday for Fantasy Top Down, the newest MVHQ service offering. Tune into that. It's been a great show so far. They killed it last week, but yeah, they got another episode coming up this week, so don't miss that.
Awesome. Later.
Later, guys.